welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm your host, Pete Mezzetti. My guest this evening is Chairman of the Town Council of the Town of Clinton, Chris Aniskovich. Chris, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, Peter. How are you?
Good, buddy. Good, buddy. Good to see you. It's been a while.
It has been.
It has been. What's new?
Well, a lot, right?
All right.
Every time we go another week, we got more new stuff. So
I know.
Always changing.
So
it's been good. It's been busy. A lot of stuff going on. So we obviously in the midst of our budget season.
Yeah.
So for the last month and a half, that's kind of what we've been dealing with. So we did budget workshops where we invited in all the department heads and everybody in town came in and spoke to us about their budgets. Mm-hmm. Town manager presented those budgets to the town council. Then we had the budget workshops. We were able to ask questions from, department heads if anybody had any specific questions for any of the, any of the departments within town.
Right.
That went well. I think it went really well. Town budget is, pretty much flat again, which, 2 years in a row, keeping it as minimal as we can. Obviously, we were zero last year. Obviously, the pandemic and COVID had a lot to do with that last year. Right. This year there will be, some numbers in some places where things may increase a little. Ultimately, our mill rate is probably going to drop this time around. Mm-hmm. The town budget, I think, is really tight as presented, as is the Board of Education. I think the Board of Education did a great job, once again, preparing their budget and bringing it forth, knowing kind of what we were facing again, because as with what it was last year, we're all in the same place. Like nothing much has changed. This Wednesday in the evening, we'll have our budget hearing, and that'll be a Zoom, a remote call, which isn't the greatest, but at least we're going to be able to get that out to the people, and they'll be able to, speak and give us their opinions on what they think about the budget. Last year, that process I think went well. Mm-hmm. That process was very positive. The feedback that we got from the members of the town were very positive. So hopefully we'll have the same this year.
Now, are we we doing reval this year?
Oh, thank you, Peter.
You're welcome, Chris.
We are in the midst of all this. We're in reval. Yeah, and it's hard, and because you do a great job with controlling the budget, controlling the spending, and making adjustments where you can, and ultimately the revals have a very big impact. I mean, Absolutely. The good and bad values are going up.
Absolutely.
Most people, your house rich, but unfortunately, if you sell your house, you're going to be into the same market when you're out there buying one. So,
Absolutely.
The revals are difficult, and it's every 5 years. Unfortunately, we're facing one this year. There was probably over 300 people that went directly to Vision Appraisals to mm-hmm. dispute the number, which helps us on our side. The Board of Assessment of Appeals heard well over 100 people that came forth to again appeal the decisions that they were given. So, right. That's going to have an impact on the budget overall once all that's said and done. And that's sort of the difficult part of all that, because that's all after we have a budget set. Right. So, the budget's presented, we have a budget in place, knowing that there might be some unknowns out there as it relates to the reval and what might impact that negatively. Because, again, if it's a cut in value, then it's going to reduce the bottom line. So, hopefully, everything went well, everything, knock on wood, we know where we are. We know that we're still in that same, COVID issue, pandemic situation where people are still struggling. Obviously, they're getting, checks from the federal government, so they all see the bigger pictures. Families still are struggling out there. And in Clinton, we have, a big population, unfortunately, that do, that have to, get some food from the food bank. Every Wednesday, you can see the cars lining up. So, we have to think about that, when you're making these decisions as it relates to the budget. The good side of that is here in Clinton, we do an outstanding job. We have a lot of great people that volunteer and put forth, their time, and take care of the people in our town that need that help.
Absolutely. Now, for the referendum this year, how's it going to look?
Right now, we're in person. So we're hoping that it stays that. There hasn't been any guidance that's come forth from the state yet. I talked to Carl, town manager, Carl Kilduff, and speak to him, regularly as it relates to that, just to make sure if there's any updates coming down, that we'll be able to get it out. But as of right now, it'll be an in-person vote. So hopefully that will, be a little bit more beneficial as well to people. But again, it's going to be a difficult situation. Do people feel comfortable or not comfortable, coming in and voting in person? So, we'll have to just see how it plays out.
I believe the vote is sometime in May.
It is May, if I'm not mistaken, 7th, I believe. But yes, it'll be in May.
I was going to say.
And then tomorrow night, hopefully we can, we'll have the public hearing if there's no adjustments to be made or anything that the council would like to, to change on the budget. We'll go forth and we'll be voting on that in May.
Speaking of town council, how are things going on the council?
We're going good. I mean, we're working on what we need to work on. There's some things that'll be coming down. I know everybody's talking about the Pearson School locally here to find out, kind of what's going on. And unfortunately, we have discussed it as a council, but it's being discussed right now because it's real estate in executive session. So there's nothing really that we can talk to the public about right now.
Exactly.
There's some things that we as a council have been and will continue to discuss what's going to happen with the Pearson School going forward. So there's some other factors that play into that, some things on a state level as it relates to the deed restrictions that exist on that building. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to, set in place, kind of have a better idea of what we want to do with the building, whether it's something that we feel the town should keep and deal with it on our own, or if we should sell it and have somebody come in and develop it for us. So, those are options A and options B, and you're going to have people on both sides, and it's not going to be, I'm sure it's going to be a very hot topic when it comes to that. A lot of people have a lot of ideas what we do with that building, mm-hmm. And I understand all that, but we need to make sure that we get the message out to the people that they understand if we keep the building, then it's tax revenue that we will not generate as a town. And then if something goes in there that we would like, we would have to maintain it. And so, those expenses will be on the town side. Those expenses will go up every year. So, those are the things that you have to look at the bigger picture. And it's hard. I know people have very passionate opinions on that building, but we also can't restrict. It would be hard to restrict the developer to come in and say, hey, listen, we'd like to sell you the building, but we need you to do this. Right. That's probably not going to happen. So, but again, if you get the right developer, the facade of the building is very important to people in town. And I'm fully on board with that. Changing the outside structure of the building. The building overall is in great shape. The windows are great. The inside is kept clean because the town maintains it. So, DPW, maintains the building, cleans the building on a regular basis. So, it's something that, the building is in good shape. The bones are good, as they say.
Hey, speaking of buildings, what's going on with the Old Morgan property?
Nice, huh?
Yeah.
So there's some timetables that have been set in place from the developer in Big Y, and that's why it's moving at the pace it is. Yeah. We were lucky that we kind of, once the council was seated and we had Carlin and working, to getting that to a final contract and get it to the closing table, that we were able to do that as quickly as we could. That being said, now he's out there going gangbusters because he has to meet these deadlines, and they're hoping that by the end of the fall, end of this year, that there'll be a grand opening for the Big Y. As of right now, the only other confirmed business on that property is going to be the Starbucks. Okay. So right now, that's what's confirmed. I know a lot of people have opinions and are saying, kind of what's going in, what's not going in. But as of right now, that's what we can say. We can say that confirmed is Starbucks will be going in. Developers already announced that. Anything else right now, he's still in negotiations, with whomever. And then, when those are, solidified and the contracts and the leases are signed, then we'll put more information out there. But I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The communications have been great between the developer and the town. So Carl's been in contact with him. So then on a regular basis, he knows kind of what's going on. Carl gives updates on this on our meetings that we have, twice a month. So people want to kind of, know more about, a lot of times, well, we don't know what's going on, and such, whether this would be an in-person meeting or a virtual meeting. These are the times that I think that, we need to make sure people in town come out and they listen. And, when we have meetings in person, the attendance wasn't always the greatest, but, we want to try to build that up so people come out, they hear they hear the right message. Right now you get a lot of people saying, well, we would like this, we would like that, this is what's going to, and it couldn't be further from the truth. So we want to make sure that, that we get that message out so people understand what's going on. And then, so there's, everybody knows, there's no backdoor, decisions being made. There's nothing, I'm doing, saying, or anything. It's basically, we're moving forward in a great time for our town. I mean, our town is, there's a lot of development going on. You can see it all over the place. And it's a great time to live in Clinton.
Now, who is the developer of the Old Morgan property?
Greylock Properties.
Okay.
Yep. So, and they've had other developments that they have, in the state. Ken Navarro is the individual that's in contact with the town and deals with that. And again, he's been great. And there's been some things that we've asked, like giving away the bricks. A lot of people wanted bricks in town from the old Morgan. So he was nice enough to kind of give them to us. And what people needed to understand is they make money on that. So they sell, the debris that comes off of those buildings when they do it. So, but he's not, nice enough to do it and came back and said, if you need some more, I'll give you some more. So that relationship is very good. And we look forward to it on, a long-term basis, because his project a long-term project. There's the other properties that are going to, other stores that will go in there. And then there's also the talk of the hotel, which is at some point down the road as well. So that's still on the table. The housing that was originally going to happen in the back of the property is no longer going to be there. So there's going to be no housing.
Oh, okay.
But he's going to, he'll continue to build, and it's going to be a long-term project. So we look forward to, maintaining that relationship as we go forward.
I actually have one of the bricks from the old property.
See? And you didn't have to pay for it.
I know.
I could have charged you. I should have charged you.
Yeah, my mom brought me up. She's like, I brought you home a present. I'm like, what is
and
it?
you got a brick, huh?
I'm like, she's like, I brought you a brick from the old high school. I'm like,
thanks, Ma.
okay, what am I going to do with this? I don't know. Hey, Chris, what else is going on in town?
As if you drive, anywhere around town, there's stuff going on all over. And that's the exciting part about, being here in town. We're still working, obviously, some of the new developments that are going in across from the old Friendlies.
Yeah.
There's a commercial, residential development going over there. Mm-hmm. That property went up in no time at all. Couple lots down on the same side of the street. Mike Milano was putting in another property over there with some apartments. So that's being developed as well. So there's a lot of great things that are going on. Van Wilgen's across the street in the old Cashman building. That's going to go in, they're saying probably the fall now. But that property is going to be, being developed and changed over so that Van Wilgen's will have the store there. Oh, cool. So those are the exciting things, the important things. We have a state grant that Carl had applied for, and it is for the facades of some of the downtown buildings. Okay. So we were awarded $125,000 on that grant. Ooh. And we work in conjunction with the owners of the properties. One of the big problems I think that we have in town is that, there's absentee owners in some of these properties. Right. So, we have, restaurants or stores that are there, but those aren't they're proprietors and they're not the owners of the building. So we have to then reach out, and the EDC is doing a great job as it relates to that, reaching out to the owners of the building, to ask them for some support in what we're going to be doing going forward.
Cool. Christian, would you mind sticking around for another segment?
Sure.
All right. We'll be right back.
Oscar the Grouch here to tell you, to wear a mask out in public around other people. Sure, it'll keep you healthy, but more importantly, I won't have to see your happy, smiling face. And if you don't want to wear a mask, I've just got one thing to tell you. Scram! Go away!
Caring for each other because we are all in this together.
So wear a mask and have a rotten day, will ya?
Spending time outdoors has never felt more valuable. Whether it's exploring nature or relaxing in your yard, let's do it responsibly. Before going out, check for closures and fire restrictions. Practice social distancing, even when outside and on the trail. Back at home, if burning yard debris, keep your pile small. And no matter where you are, be sure to properly extinguish any outdoor fire. Drown, stir, drown, feel. We're all in this together. Help keep our safe places safe.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm your host, Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Chris Aniskovich, who's the chairman of the town council for the town of Clinton. Chris, welcome back.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, pal.
Nice commercial.
I was gonna say, is that what you were laughing about?
Yeah, that was. That's
okay. Nice. You like those, huh?
I do.
Exactly. Now, Chris, let's talk about one of the things we didn't talk about in the first segment. How is the town manager? How's Carl?
He's good. First-time town manager is always difficult, obviously. Yep. You got to you're coming in, you got to get a lay of the land. So it's kind of difficult for him. Year one, a lot of the stuff that he kind of worked on was just stuff that was cleaning up. I think the difficult thing that some people have, getting a hold of or taking a grasp of is the fact that, this is a professional manager, that this is what he's done. He's done this for 20 plus years, and this is how, they operate. They run a town.
Absolutely.
As it relates to having a, first selected form of government, it's different. I mean, because you have, if there's no continuity at that seat, then things are going to change. And so for the last, 4 years, you had Willie, then you had Bruce, now you get Christine, and, there was a lot of changeover. So just when they're ready to kind of do things, things may change again. So that was the difficult thing that existed. So when he comes in first year, he's basically cleaning up and making sure that, we were doing things the right way. Because unfortunately, there were a lot of things in town that we weren't doing the right way, and we weren't doing them the right way for a long time.
Yeah, right.
And no fault. I mean, there's no fingers being pointed. So people need to understand that that's kind of where his mindset was for the first good year, and still working it to this day. As he comes in and tries to change the mentality and kind of how we're doing things and how you work, you want to be able to take the politics. People continue to ask, they want to see him more. They want to see and hear from him more. And again, it's just, there's a reason why there's a town manager, and then there's a reason why there's a town council. I mean, that's how the form of government exists. So there's a separation between that. I think people need to understand that it's an apolitical position, a town manager. When a town manager is hired, we don't ask what his party affiliation is.
Okay.
It's not a question that's even asked. So he comes in as an apolitical individual that is here to run the town. And so hearing from a town manager or have him talking on specific things can make it political.
Right.
Because if he has an opinion, let's say, on something, people can have a problem with that.
Yes.
So that's why that gets separated, and the town council are the ones that, step forth and deal with those things. Town manager reports to the town council. That's how it operates. Chairman of the town council, I don't have any more authority than any other council members.
Right.
In spite of what people like to talk about and read and write, and great. But unfortunately, maybe they'll find out once they're sitting in the chair at some point. There's no more authority that I have than anybody else.
No.
The chairman of the town council basically is, the face. Basically, what it says in the town charter: ceremonial, head of the town. And so, should you hear from somebody, you're going to hear from a chairman. Our town council operates just like any other board or commission in any form of government. There's a reason why there's a chairman, chairwoman, chairperson on any of these boards and commissions.
Right.
Because that is the individual that speaks on behalf of that committee. So what happens is, and it's kind of confusing why people don't understand this, but, why would we have council members on their own going out and speaking to the public without having a conversation amongst everybody? If there's a conversation that's had amongst the council members, then we're all having, a discussion amongst ourselves, and any outcome would be the outcome of the council as a whole. You have individual council members that go out and speak, on behalf of the council. It becomes very confusing. So, that's the form of government, nothing more, nothing less. I don't have any authority to make any decisions in this town. Those decisions are made by the town manager, who works directly with the department heads. That's the process, and that's how it works. So I think people are still struggling with it. I really do. And I think, and that's why I push for them to get involved. If you want to know what's going on in your town and in town government, get involved.
Absolutely.
Show up to a meeting. We have meetings every, 1 in the morning, 1 at night, twice a month, every Wednesday. We're here. At this point now, we're posting on our Facebook page, it's always on our website. We're posting when we have our meetings with the links, so people can show up and see what's going on. If they want to see kind of what's our money worth? What are we getting from paying the town manager? Show up and you'll hear his manager's report, and you'll see exactly what he works on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
He has a lot of involvement with the state. He does, have contacts at the state because he did work there for a period of time. So, that's important for us as a town. So I think he's doing a wonderful job. I think it's just difficult sometimes for people to understand that this is a big change. It's a very big change. So just going to have to take baby steps and get used to it. But we want to keep the naysayers and the people that
Right.
think that this wasn't a good deal out to the side a little bit. Let's all stay focused on being positive. Let's talk about the positive things that are going on in our town on a daily basis. We're doing great things. We have a great town. Our vaccine program, when we set up services at town hall. Michael Neff set it up, brought in 3 volunteers, and they helped people that were having difficulty getting registered. They helped them with the VAM system, got them registered, got them appointments. Those are the positive things that we need to see. Those are the people in our town that we have to promote and show that, people that, don't live here, what a great town we are. And they don't ask for anything, they don't ask for any accolades, they don't ask for any pat on the back, they just want to come out and help. Families helping families, the human services, all the things that we have in this town are outstanding. We have a lot of things that are in place where we can help the individuals that live in our town and have them live comfortably, even though they might be struggling at a period of time. So, those are the things that I want to kind of stay focused on and keep everybody talking about. The politics, let's say, of it all, I'm good with.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to jump on my soapbox here for a second.
What do you got?
As long as I don't fall off it, I'm okay. Hey, now, as far as town council meetings go, rumor has it you can watch them on television.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Tell me about it.
You can. On the same venue we are right here, Peter.
Right.
Valley Shore. So they started, almost 2 years now, probably, where you guys have been filming and posting all of our meetings. So that's another venue that we were glad to have and we continue to have. And I think it's an outstanding way for everybody, once again, to view the meetings that we have. So, we're doing what we can. We appreciate all the help that you're giving us and the ability for people to join, to see, and to hear what's going on. And those are important things because people,
absolutely.
If you have questions, your questions get answered by going to meetings and showing up and listening and hearing what's going on. And that's, I guess the most difficult thing is, we're a municipality and I want to keep it a municipality. You take the politics away from any of this because none of that matters in our town.
Right.
This isn't state, this is our town, and the decisions that the council should be making, should be based upon, the benefit for the town as a whole, and having, Valley Shore there to kind of promote that and to put that out there so people can see. That's what we want to get. We want the positive messages. Our meetings, we stay away from the negativity in our meetings. We're positive. I want to keep it structured and focused on what we're going to do going forward. What's happened in the past, who doesn't like who,
right.
You're this party, you're that party. I don't care.
No.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I don't sit there and promote what party I'm from at any of our meetings, and it doesn't matter. I'm, very apolitical when I'm sitting in that chair, and as it should be. So, we want to help and continue to promote that in our town, and you guys are doing a great job helping with that.
Thank you. Now, Chris, tell me this: Are you guys at the town council form of government still meeting virtually, or are we going to go to in-person meetings sometime down the road?
Well, I sure hope we go to in-person meetings sometime down the road. So we're still virtual.
Okay.
There is no timetable, unfortunately, for when we'll go to live meetings.
Oh, boy.
I think, we'll play it by ear is basically how it's going. If there's some, stuff, that we can do. And that's the hard thing. There's things that you want to do as a town council, and virtually sometimes it's just difficult.
Right.
Because you're not in person, and it's easier to obviously to have a meeting when you're all in person sitting in a chair and, somebody's next to you, and it's easier to control that meeting when people like to talk and then things get missed. And then we'll do the best we can with what we have right now. Hopefully some guidance will come soon and we can throw on some masks and walk into a building and sit down 6 feet apart and talk.
Now, how often do you guys meet?
We meet the first Wednesday of every month is a morning meeting at 8 a.m. Okay. And then our second meeting 2 weeks from that is the evening meeting. Okay. So twice a month, whether we have special meetings, sometimes, that exists. This Wednesday, we'll have our morning meeting, and then the public hearing special meeting will be in the evening. So we'll have a full day of excitement on Wednesday. So
we've got a little bit more time left. So what else do we want to talk about? What's going on in town?
Well, I think we have to just talk about kind of, you got the kids that were out there, the student athletes from the Morgan School. I think they deserve a lot of credit as well. They were, this past season, fall and winter sports actually were, they were able to play. They were able to get on the courts. The boys basketball team undefeated won, the Shoreline Championship first time in forever. And, so that's great. The fencing team, men's and women, had some championships that they won in their conference. So, those sports were all able to get out there. And I think these kids have been up a lot of, up against it a lot. I'm glad for the seniors that were able to, get out there and compete for their final year, because it was hard for them. Luckily, going into spring, that'll happen as well. Those are the kind of things that, that I feel is important to promote as well. A lot of those things are good for our town. It's good to, the parents were able to get out to one of the games at the end of the season for the boys. So that was important. Those are things that in the town that we're trying to do. Hopefully, as we come closer to prom season and we come closer to graduation, we can be as normal as possible.
Yeah.
The most important thing that, that there's a lot of talk going on is the graduation. So hopefully the guidance will lead us down that path where these kids can have a graduation, like they've had in the past. So
now, are they all in Clinton, or are they doing remote learning?
in Clinton, they are in school. And again, the same thing again, though. I mean, you get the positives and then you're out for a few days. You're in for it's very confusing and it's hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard for everybody. And that's why, it's difficult. It's difficult for kids at that age to not have structure. And if they don't have structure, it just becomes kind of crazy sometimes. So, that's hard, and you understand it. Same for the teachers. Teachers are going through the same stuff. But luckily, vaccinations are coming through. Hopefully this will solve a lot of our problems, and we can get back to normalcy very soon.
Cool. Chris Aniskovich, we're out of time, so I want to thank you for coming down, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Chris. On behalf of Chris Aniskovich, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next time.